Here it is, the new FB. It's got the engine, trans, runs on starting fluid. We got it started for a second, but pretty sweet little car. I think we're gonna take the swap and put it in the black Miata. Took the engine and transmission out. This one is a 12A, so they're carbureted. Should make it an easier swap into the Miata. Also, the tail shaft is very similar. We can put that on there. Use the power plant frame, the drive shaft. Should be a pretty easy swap. Also, the engine mount is on the front, so we can make some brackets off of that. Got it all taken apart, cleaned up. This is what we're going to be keeping: the alternator, water pump housing, starter, some of the wiring. Getting rid of that old manifold and carb, exhaust, that air pump, and all those vacuum lines. We're going to get a new clutch, some new gaskets, new intake, exhaust, carb, and block off for that oil metering pump. We got it set in there, almost where it needs to go. We have the RX-7 transmission, the Miata tail shaft. It's bolted up to the power plant frame. To get to this point, we had to drop the subframe down a couple inches because this oil pan is a front sump, so it hits right on the subframe there. For a 13B, there's a bunch of different options you can get for a rear sump oil pan, but for a 12A, the only option I could find was an RX2 pan. Got the oil pan on there. We still had to cut the subframe a bit to get it to fit, and we're still going to use subframe spacers. These are 1 inch. It's pretty close to the steering rack here. Maybe if it wasn't right-hand drive and an NB rack, wouldn't have to use the spacers, but measured the power plant frame on my other Miata, made it the exact same height. So a lot of cars you can hit your subframe studs out, but on a Miata they're completely welded in there. So you have to cut that all out. Then I made that plate on the top with the longer bolts. We cut back here on both sides. This side was to make the oil filter fit, and this side the intake is going to come out, take up some space. And we cut the transmission tunnel, bent it up a little bit so that the slave cylinder can fit. For the engine mount, I cut the stock bracket, put these tabs on the side, bent some tube over to these boxes. Those have a upper control arm bushing in there, so we'll see how that does. We just got to finish up some welding and get some paint on here. We're going to reinforce these subframe studs. I made some spacers here, so we're going to put one of those on each one and weld it in just like that. Made some plates for the subframe and put some square tubing in the front. Got the subframe all welded up. We got the transmission tunnel all patched up. Got all the welding done. Finished up these corners. It's ready for some paint. Here it is all painted. Got the subframe bolted up. We had to notch a little bit more for the oil pan. Got the engine back in. Everything's bolted up. The power plant frame, drive shaft. Made this custom header. Got it painted and bolted on. Here's the rest of the exhaust. We have a flex pipe, spot for the wideband, and it connects to a Miata test pipe. We had to cross over under the transmission since the exhaust is on the other side for the rotary. Got it tucked up pretty far. Then it's just bolted to a Manzo catback. Now for the intake, I have a Racing Beat manifold and some knockoff Weber 48 IDA carbs. Some uni filters. They just barely fit under the hood. It squishes them a little bit. I moved the brake lines and the fuel lines over because they normally come up right here next to the header. Moved them to the other side of the frame rail. Got the coolant hoses done. Those are just lower Miata hoses, upper Miata hose. Got the speedo cable, throttle cable. Those are just Miata ones. We got the fuel all figured out. There's a filter right there. It goes back to one of these pumps. It's only like 6 PSI. I didn't really want to run the stock 45 all the way up here and through a regulator and back. So it just has that. The external fuel pump is down there. And then it goes into the tank and it has a little screen on the end. So for the wiring, there are these 2 igniters and they go to the coils. There's just a power and a ground. They all go together, and then the power wire, of course, needs power, and the ground is your tack signal. We have 1 wire for the alternator that goes to the positive terminal on the battery. There's a wire for the coolant sensor, the oil sensor, which is just 1 wire, And we have some for the radiator fans, the headlights. Looks like kind of a mess in here, but I'm going to put everything in this box on a relay and a fuse. You power the fuel pump, power the coils, power the gauge cluster. There's a few more things to wire on the gauge cluster, but I pretty much did the power, the ground, and then the wire to the tach signal, the water, and the oil sensor. It actually says on there which one it goes to. This is the stock Miata power wire. Comes all the way from the battery underneath and connects to the starter. This is for the alternator. And then this is the starter signal wire. Connect all those together, car starts up. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Next, we're going to be putting the top from the RX-7 on.